Senator John Kennedy. You know, Senator Kennedy, this is a big deal that one of your Democratic colleagues, Senator Warner, is having this meeting. When Biden was asked about this, he said, oh, that's just one senator. But it sounds like a lot of senators have concerns. And I'm wondering, you work with these senators every day. Do you think their concerns were assuaged tonight?
I'm not sure, Kayleigh, that interviews like the president gave tonight matter much at this juncture. You can't make this cat walk backwards. People saw what they saw in that 90-minute debate. And I think most of them think that it's only a matter of time before President Biden stumbles again, because they understand that old age doesn't get better, it gets worse. Fairly or unfairly, I think most Americans have made up their minds. I think they have concluded that President Biden is old, that he is likely suffering from some form of neurodegenerative disease, that he's suffered from it for a while, and that the White House and many members of the media industrial complex have covered it up. And that cover-up has been toxic, in my opinion, for what it's worth. Politically, I think President Biden, politically, is as dead as fried chicken. He can quit. But he can be replaced. Let me just finish my thought. Or he can run and lose. You can't successfully run for President of the United States when your campaign slogan is, I'm only senile some of the time, as one commentator pointed out today.
Yeah, that's right. You know, the thought that comes to mind as I'm listening to you speak is, what are his advisors telling him? Because there was this moment where George Stephanopoulos said, you have a 36% approval rating, Mr. President. And he looked at him with bewilderment, saying, no, I don't. And yet this comes the same day that 538 put out the average approval rating of the president, hit its lowest point of his presidency, right at 36%. So are people just telling him what he wants to hear?
Well, look, you shouldn't look to Washington, D.C. for wisdom or comfort at this difficult time. As you know, most people in Washington, D.C. will they'll unplug your life support in order to charge their cell phone. Most people in Washington, D.C. right now are worried about how the president's problems are going to impact them personally. I'm more interested in what the American people think. And I don't take any joy in having to say all of this. This is a difficult time. But let me say it again. People saw what they saw in that 90-minute debate, and they're very concerned.
They are very concerned. I do want to play a little bit more, Senator Kennedy. This was another disconnect from reality that we heard about what happened at the debate and what President Trump did. Let's listen.
And how quickly did it come to you that you were having that bad night?
Well, it came to me as having a bad night when I realized that even when I was answering a question, even though they turned his mic off, he was still shouting. And I let it distract me. I'm not blaming it on that. But I realized that I just wasn't in control.
I watched the whole debate. I never saw President Trump shouting in a microphone that wouldn't let him shout. I mean, we would hear his shouting in Biden's microphone. That just didn't happen.
Well, look, actually, as we all know, the microphones were cut off when it wasn't the speaker's turn. And I don't really understand what President Biden was referring to. I do think that the White House is doing their president, our president, a disservice tonight. The White House says that, well, they're like Kevin Bacon at the end of Animal House. All is well. Don't panic. We've been transparent the entire time. This White House They would know transparency if it jumped up and yodeled and bit them in the butt. There has been a cover-up, and many members of the media have participated in it. And now some members of the media, they're running around going, we're dumbfounded. We never saw any sign of this. I mean, and they're asking, is the president, can he stand for re-election? His own Justice Department a few months ago said that he's not even competent to stand trial. What parachute did what planet did these people parachute in from? The American people may be poorer under President Biden, but they're not stupid. And their concerns and suspicions have been confirmed.
They have been, and I'll never forget, it was the Vice President, Kamala Harris, in the wake of that, her report you referenced, who came in and vouched for the mental acuity of President Biden. Senator Kennedy, always such a way with words and so vivid in your language. Thank you very much.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.